everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farms, Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. So I got a little different video for you today. I want to talk to you about why you should not use high tensile fence for sheep and goats. So, story time. About 2 years ago, I went to my friend's house and I picked up 6 fat lambs that were about, I don't know how old they were. We'll say they were about 6 or 7 months old. And I actually backed them into this corridor right here. I've got a nice closed gate here. I said, okay, this is gonna work out good. I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna let them onto this confined pasture here. And I opened up the gate. They had never been on my farm before, and I put them in this confinement area. And they proceeded to head for Mexico. They just ran like they were on fire and ran right through my fence out into the field, which by the way was full of crops and like scattered. So if you've ever had animals get out before, which you probably have, you know how much fun that is, even if it's an animal that you own. Now imagine 6 animals that have never seen you before. They're at a new piece of property and they have officially blown through your fence and are now out in a stocked field. It was a disaster. Needless to say, we got them back in here, but there was a lot of swearing involved. A lot of swearing involved. So come on in here and let's take a look at what I did wrong and what you don't do what Tim did. Okay, so the problem is this. If you look over there right now, you can't even see the high tensile wire. Like, let's see how close we got to get to this thing to actually see it. So if we're heading in this direction over here, we got a little bit of mud out here, so we're gonna watch our steps. So as we're coming up on this high tensile fence here, I mean, we still can't see it. I'm 20 foot away from it. We can barely see it. We get up here, I can just now see this high tensile fence, okay? This is the problem. This is what you run into with high tensile fence. If you get a spooked animal, it's just not a barrier. And that's point number one. Point number one is the animals can't see it, especially new animals. So the problem was I let these animals go. From a distance, they were looking out towards this field. It was a straight shot. They said, hey, this is the safest place to go to avoid harm. And they literally, by the time they even figured out that the fence was here, they had already blown through it and they were gone. That's a problem that you're gonna run into with the high tensile fence. It's just not very visible. And then we get into point number 2. Ultimately, this is not going to stop an animal that really wants to get through it. It's not gonna stop your animal, for one, and for 2, it's not gonna stop a dog. We've had both instances happen. We've had dogs come in, we've had dogs run right through, we've had animals get angry and they run through. If you get a buck that's in rut, if you get a doe that's in heat and that buck wants to get to her, this is not gonna stop them. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why in the world do you have it? Well, the reason I have it is because I went through all the trouble to put it up. I was trying something new. It was rather inexpensive. I can put up high tensile fence fast. I mean fast. I've done it so many times now. I'm pretty much a pro at it. I can put it up fast. I can get it up. I can do whatever I need to do. I can pretty much do it by myself. And I got a lot of juice running through this fence. This is like 9,000 volts that I have going through here. No amperage, so you know it's not going to kill anything, but it'll hurt like heck. So this works out really good as a deterrent for an animal that's been here. Most of our animals are trained to it. So you know, our animals are in a nice, calm, collected environment. Essentially, they'll kind of wander up to this. Eventually, they'll touch their nose to it. It'll shock them really, really bad. And then they're gone. They won't mess with it again. What you'll find with sheep with high tensile fence is they'll kind of like touch it once or twice and then they'll never touch it again for the rest of their life. If I was just running sheep in here, no kidding, for all intents and purposes, I could literally shut the power off on this thing and never turn it back on, and they're not gonna mess with it. Goats, on the other hand, forget about it. These animals, we can watch them, like my camera person, Lindy, is like shaking her head, yes. You can watch these goats like at least twice a week come up and they're like, man, I'm gonna shock myself just to see if this thing's on. And they'll come up and zap themselves and they're like, yeah, it's on. God forbid if the power goes out and they don't hear the electricity going through it, the clicking sound, or if they find out that there's a way to get through it, they're gone. They just blow right through it. So that's the other thing that, point number 3 is you got to have power to this thing all the time, and that's the problem. If you're dealing with power outages, it's gonna be an issue. So you're either gonna have to get some kind of backup power to confine your animals, especially if you're running goats, or you're gonna have to run off of a battery or something like that. As you can see, my buddy Tim here, here we are again. Huh, Tim? So he is, Tim, we might as well talk about you since you're going to be here hanging out. Tim is an Angus bull. He was an orphan. He's been actually castrated, so he's a steer, and he's just getting bottle fed. These work out great during the wintertime. It's about the same size as a goat. He thinks he's a goat. The goats think he's a goat. All works out fine. Okay, so back to the fence. So this is our first option. So we talked about the 3 points of these, they can't see it. It's not a good physical barrier, and then you run into issues when the power goes out. So the next thing that you can move to, if you have sheep, is this classic old woven wire fencing with a hot wire across the top. This works okay for sheep. I don't like it when it's not electrified for a couple reasons. They brush up against it. If I were to do this again, I'd put a hot wire down here. The other thing, this is not sheep and goat fence, and you'll notice the squares are pretty large. The problem that you're going to run into with this, if you have goats with horns, is they're going to stick their head through it. The way the horns are curved, they can push through it, but then they can't get their head back out. And for those of you that have ran woven wire with the large squares before, you know that that's an issue. So that's it. That's our video today in a nutshell. I just wanted to talk with you about that high tensile fence and why I don't think you should do it. I think if you're going to invest the time and the energy, what I think you should do is you should get woven wire sheep and goat fencing, which is smaller squares that they can't stick their head through. I think that is the perfect thing that you can do. It takes a little bit more money, it takes a little bit more time, but in the end, it is going to save you big time. So stick with that, see what you think. Hey, if you got questions, comments, concerns, leave them below. We really do appreciate it. Linessa Farms Tack Box, I can't tell you enough about that. That's our forum. You can search for it on Facebook. Please check it out. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, chances are other people do as well. So jump on there and share your thoughts, and hopefully you can help someone else out at the same time you're helping yourself. That's all I got for you guys. I am Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining me again today, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.